Hello and welcome to this episode of the Belair podcast. Today, we have a very special guest for you. This is a personal friend of mine who I met at Burning Man, who turns out to be a spectacular, amazing, interesting, awesome human being. He's the first Wim Hof certified instructor, among many other things. Successful businessman. He just kicks business butt, no problem. That's easy for him, apparently. He is one of the head honchos at Collective Evolution, bringing stories, organizing people, cultivating events, doing all kinds of amazing stuff. He is also the founder of Luminous, which is a retreat center outside of Toronto, Canada, so he can hold events and do all kinds of amazing stuff. And he is here with us today. Welcome, Giovanni Bartolomeo.
Thank you so much, brother. Yeah, that was perfect too. Nailed it. Your Italian's good. You're ready for a trip to Italy. Listen,
Awesome,
it's great to be here. I love your show. I love what you're doing, and you're an awesome guy. So it's an honor and a privilege just to sit here and chat on the show and off the show. I just love talking to you. You're a great guy. So thanks.
Awesome, man. Yeah. I appreciate that, man. Right back at you. We've had some conversations, in some deep spots, man. Burning Man was the beginning of it, and then Luminous, the ceremony that we did there was pretty special, pretty amazing. Do you want to, your background's interesting, and especially where you are now. I told you before the podcast, you watching what you've done and how you transformed, not even transformed, but just elevated since Burning Man, and the way that you're writing and the way that I just see you living and feeling and the things that you're doing. So can you give the listeners just a big, background of, your steps of where you've been, what you've accomplished, because it's quite a bit, and then, where you are now and what you're up to?
Yeah, I'll try. Let me know if it starts getting boring or not. Just stop me or interrupt. One thing I noticed when I was sort of got into this field of Collective Evolution, I saw these speakers and I see all these guys. I'm like, wow, man, all these people have such amazing stories. Like they've been through so much shit. Can we swear on the show? Sorry, I didn't mean to drop the F-bomb there.
Yeah, sure.
It's cool.
Yeah. I think you have to do you have to put a rating or something on there somewhere, but I never do. So I think we're good until
all right, I'll try not to. Just
rated R spirituality show.
Yeah. I see all these amazing people, but one guy got shot, the other one was an addict, and I'm like, shit, my story's so boring. I'm like none of this stuff happened to me. I'm like, well, what is my story? So it's always a hard thing for me to say, let me come up with a cool story. But when I started realizing that, I came to the conclusion that we create our own story. I don't need to die or have some near-death experience to start doing awesome shit. And I don't need a story to get people to like me either, because that was something I had to learn through the process. Was like, I don't really care who likes me or not. It's like, I'm going to do something and I want to do it. And if someone wants to come along for the ride or wants to ask questions, if I can inspire someone, that's amazing. But it's even just one person. So my story goes a little bit like this. Grew up in Toronto, went to Catholic school. In grade fourth grade, I was selected to go to this gifted kids program where I had to go to a different school for smart kids. And I hated it, man. It was I just felt like I was being singled out. I was different. I just wanted to play with my friends and play hockey and sports. And every time I'd go out, my parents would be like, "Oh, look at my son. He's gifted. He's such a smart kid." I'd be like, "Shut up, Mom." Whatever. I don't want it. Leave me alone. So by the seventh grade, I had to go full time to this other school. So I was pretty much saying goodbye to my friends. And in this other school, you got to imagine, it's all these outsider kids are coming together. So the kids that are there, they're all just bullying us. And I was an athletic kid. So I sort of hung with these guys, but it was I didn't really ever fit in at the time. But now I'm friends with a lot of them. I started really downplaying one of my gifts, right? I was smart, but I was trying to hide it. I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want it to stand out. And I got into this sort of space of just doing the minimum to get by. I convinced my parents to let me go back to my other school in grade 8, promising them I'd be the best kid ever. And they actually let me. And the one thing I'm so grateful for is parents that always supported me along the way, no matter what I did. No matter if I was coming home from a club with my head split open with a beer bottle, or they were always just there. "Are you okay? How can we support you?" Went to college, went to business school, went down that path. Again, I got into a really good business school in Toronto. It was called Schulich. And I started grooming myself for the corporate world. And I was like, okay, I got to make a lot of money. Success is all about making money. I can do this. So I would be like getting just a bare minimum to stay in business school, but I'd be starting businesses on the side. My first business, I had like a clothing line. I printed t-shirts. It's called Rye and Ginger. Rye was the guy's line. Ginger was the girl's line. Then a couple years later, I had this idea to create this company called Socks with Locks. It was basically these little snap buttons on your socks. When you take them off, you snap them together, and you throw them in the wash. And they always come out paired. And years later, it ended up being on Dragon's Den. It's called Snappy Socks. And I was like, good for you guys.
Did I see that on TV?
Yeah, but recently,
like
you have no idea how many phone calls I got when that episode went on. They're like, they stole your idea. I'm like, no, good, man. They can have it. That was like a long time ago. Yeah, and then shortly after university, I had my first sort of like awakening. I had an experience where, I thought I was sick, and I sort of convinced myself that I was sick. Like I thought I was really sick. I ended up being fine, but like I was so in my head that I realized I was manifesting symptoms of a disease I didn't even have. Like I was actually feeling it. And that showed me through this very difficult time in my life, which after I can only be so grateful for it happening, was that like your thoughts are very powerful. What you do with your thoughts, you better be careful with the way you think, because you can attract good or bad. At the same time, going through university, I had a picture of a BMW on my wall that I couldn't afford, but I always wanted. And about the time where I sort of started coming around, I was cleaning out my stuff back from university, and I was going through this box, and I found all these old papers of these printouts I had on the wall, and there's that car. Wasn't the exact car that I was driving at that time. It was this BMW with that same color, same year, exact same everything. So I'm doing this kind of stuff. I'm in business. So I'm doing food sales at this time. So I always wanted to be my own business. So going back just a little bit for a second, in school, I hated the corporate world. I figured like I got my third year tax law, which was going to be accounting because my dad wanted to be a CA. And the book is like this thick. And it was like $100. And $100 when I was in university was like, I could have like 2-3 cases of beer was $100. You know what I mean? Like that's like weekends of fun. And I'm going to go and like spend my last few bucks here. So I'm walking back from the bookstore, and this burden of this Canadian tax law is just weighing down my back, and it's just dragging me down. And I'm like, fuck this. I turn around, I bring it back, I cash in, I get the full refund because you have like 2 days to get your full refund. And that was it for accounting. I switched to like marketing, all electives that I liked. I ended up going to Italy to study for a couple weeks. And I knew like I'm going to be in business for myself. There's no way I'm going to work. I won't be happy. I just knew it. And thank God I had that intuitive voice there. My parents thought I was crazy, but they still believed in me. So after that, I started a sales company doing food sales, found some moderate success, ended up having a couple other different companies. I was into, did some renovations with flip some homes in Toronto. I started manufacturing my own food products as well. And then there came a day where I sort of looked at my life, and I realized like I was still relatively young, and I already had a house, had a beautiful wife, kids, car in the driveway, nice car, BMW. And I just felt this emptiness. Like I was like, I can easily do this for the next 40 years and be so comfortable, go on 2 vacations a year. I wasn't rich, but I didn't really worry about money. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like a big issue in my life. Like, money wasn't my biggest issue. And then I just had these flashes of me being old and my whole life disappearing without me doing anything. Just like sitting back on my couch, just getting old. And it scared the fuck out of me. Like, it really scared the shit out of me. And I was like, no, this is not it. There's got to be more out there. But I was always reading, I was always reading like books. Like I got my bookshelf here. Half these books I haven't even read. I'll just buy them and put them there because I know like one day I'll have this burning desire to know about like, what do I got here? Like the Tree of Life, or like, who knows? I can buy the craziest stuff, and I'll just grab it. So I was reading all this stuff, like, and at that time it was like Buddhist philosophy and like the Vedas, like Vedic philosophy. I owned a tattoo shop at the time too. I just invested in a tattoo shop, and I realized that all this stuff I can read, I'm understanding it in theory, but I'm understanding someone else's experience. Like Jesus went and fasted for 40 days. Awesome. That must have been a crazy experience. He saw some shit. Cool. That's awesome. I can understand that. But I can't experience it. I don't really know what that's like to have that experience. And then I said, you know what? And I was like, what do I really want to do? Because I figured out I couldn't do what I was doing. So for a long time, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I'm smart. Should I go back to school? Like, that didn't really like attract me at all. Like, I know I liked helping people. Like, I was trying to figure out what I liked doing. I liked helping people. I liked teaching, and I liked like being in groups. I like creating like environments where people can get together and connect and have really meaningful connection. But I needed the experience to be able to talk and know, you know what I mean? Like, I can't say shit about a book I read. Guys, I'm telling you, you know, like, you got to try this, because I never tried it, but this book says it's awesome. So from then I started setting out, I want to experience life. And wherever it takes me, I'm going to go. I went to go to Brazil to do ayahuasca, started meditating. I went to go train with Wim Hof, whether it's fasting, breathing, going to Burning Man. It was just all about, as soon as something would grab my attention, I knew. I was like, okay, that's for me. I got to go skydiving. I got to go bungee jumping, like just everything and anything. And I was always like, kind of got to go out there and get it. You know what I mean? But it was more like partying. Let's go like drink and do drugs and like have fun and go chase girls until, you know, I met my wife. But that I was trying to find something that made me feel alive, you know, and I started finding it. And now it's just like, I'm having so much fun. And all these things are happening. All these things I wanted to do, I sort of tried to think like what I wanted to do and why I want to do it. I started really focusing on that energy and just allowing things to start happening and come. And like, the craziest thing just happened now. It's like I'm living a life of magic. It's like pure, like, I don't believe in myself sometimes, how like I'll just think of something and a guy will pop up in my life, or like some guy will connect with me and just tell me something I really need to know, like how you connected that day we had that thing. You just told me that thing about your friend that had the same experience that I had, and it just sent me on this whole other path of just exploration and finding out more about myself, and it's just been awesome. And I'm done rambling. Sorry, that was a little bit longer of a story than I expected, but I hope it gives you a good idea of who I was and how I got to where I am.
Yeah, no, I think it was really good, man. It was a pleasure to listen to too, because you know you added some details that I was unaware of, and I think it's super important that people realize. You know, you have this experience and you're creating your life and you're trying to find your way, and you find success, and you have your business and everything's rolling as it should, and you've got your wife and things, and then all of a sudden it's not enough, or it's not completely aligned, or you're still looking to grow. You're not done. And then you really reconnect, and then you look within and you figure out, how am I going to experience? And I think, you know, with what you're really called to do, with you're talking about reading these books and doing these things, well, in any space of education, there's people who do it and know it, and there's people who talk about it, and there's theory. And so if you want to actually be in that space, you know, you have to do it. And number two, it's the whole reason people are writing these things is so people can have their own direct experiences and have it, and so you can share that info. And now you know, now you're out there doing it. You know, you look at your Facebook and you're sitting in cold ice buckets. You can do the Wim Hof thing. You can actually do it. You know what it's like. You put yourself into the fire. Now you've become an expert. And now, from what I'm seeing from your work and dedication, and I think this is something comes from within, like from when we first met until now, like your energy and the way you're doing it is like through the roof. And, you know, you're in it and you're like going for the ride.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like, just to build on what you were saying, is that like every experience, like you're never done learning, like you're never done growing. It never ends. It's just like, it just keeps evolving, you know, and even when you die, I feel like there's going to be more after that too, you know, like you're not even done when you die. It's just like, it keeps going, and you can just like check out and sit on the couch and ride that out for as long as you can, or you can get up and experience life, you know, and just find something, whatever just grabs your attention. So yeah, it's been great, man.
I've heard with a lot of stuff like Bashar channelers, and even Abraham Hicks, or people who talk about manifestation, the importance of following your bliss, like following your highest bliss, your highest joy. Do you think that would be any kind of catalyst to you really elevating, you know, from where you were to where you are now?
Absolutely. But the hardest part was finding that, like finding out what my bliss was, because I had these stories growing up of what life is supposed to. We all have it. We're all born into this system, society, whatever you want to call it, with TV and advertising and marketing, where you're so distracted and we're all lost. We're trying to figure it out. And I think that's part of the fun part, is being lost and trying to figure it out. I had an interesting ayahuasca experience we'll talk about after, about being lost and then coming back.
As I say, that's part of it. So if you want to share, I don't know if that's like a personal thing you don't want to share.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm an open book, man. I'll share almost anything that won't get me in trouble with my wife. I'm just joking.
Right. So you do, and this is when we connected last week, you did ayahuasca, and the last interview I just did with Jeffrey Slater, very ridiculously successful business guy. Like I talked about it at the beginning, and he doesn't want you to kind of say it too much, but like he's ridiculously successful, just kicks businesses butt super hard. And after doing ayahuasca, he takes CEOs out there that, because of their image and their position, they don't want them to know because people don't understand it. But it can be an extremely powerful medicine. And you don't, again, like when I say, you don't have to do ayahuasca, but if you can listen to somebody who's done it, you can listen to their lessons. You might not have that same experience. I know I'm not going to be able to get that experience, just like Wim Hof breathing. I have to go sit my butt in the cold, do the processes to get that, but I can learn from your story. And so, we were going to talk about it, but yeah, man, I would love to hear how your experience was.
Yeah, you can learn, you can learn from listening to stories, but I think eventually you got to get that courage to go. Like, I think ayahuasca, like plant medicine in general, is something that everyone should experience in their life. It's like, having sex for the first time, or like having a kid, or like going to the prom. It's like these experiences that I think everyone should have. And I think it's been so vilified by the mainstream establishment and by religious establishment to create this fear around it. And that's what makes it scary, because people are so afraid that, it's going to be so bad. I'm working on a documentary right now about psychedelics. It's called Psyched Out, which is another passion project of mine, working with Collective Evolution. I didn't really add them into my story, but along that same time that I was trying to find out what I wanted to do, I started attracting people that were open and similar minded to me, and CE came into the picture and became good friends with the founder. So the experience I had last week, I've been learning so much from ayahuasca, especially the last few journeys. I feel like it's almost like you're going through grade school with it. Like the first couple of times you're like just dabbling in and you're scared and you're like, what the fuck is going on here? And like you're seeing things that you've never seen before, that you didn't even know are possible, like colors and shapes and three-dimensional experience. And I feel that my own interpretation is that's serving a purpose, to sort of to train your mind, where the human monkey mind always wants to try to analyze everything. Like, what is that? What is that thing? Oh my God, it looks like a pink elephant with zebra pants on. It's flashing. And like, that's ayahuasca. It's giving you the most ridiculous thing you could ever imagine. It's just putting it in front of you. And you're like, oh my God, what is it? What is it? What is it? And eventually after a few things, it's like, slow down. Don't analyze. Just observe. Go, you're going to say something?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, like, it'll take things that you can't explain, because we're trying to always categorize, right? We're always filtering and boxing, you know what I mean? Like, you label and judge, right? Like, black guy in the hood, stereotype with low pants. Oh, he's, that stereotype, right? It's like, oh, if he's like this, but he's got a suit on, he's cool. Well, that guy probably, could be very diverse, right? So that's what the mind does. Yeah. And ayahuasca is like, no.
And then I feel like it's like with me, and as experiences go on, like once I sort of am able to quiet my mind, I start moving past that, and then I get like into these deeper sort of areas of ayahuasca. It's so hard to put into words the experience if you haven't tried it. And my best advice, if you're curious of what it's like, you should try it. So this one, I the medicine was strong. The shaman was very, very good shaman, very powerful. So the first round, and I don't really take a second drink with this guy usually, because it's always got my ass kicked on the first round, like so deep that it's like after that I'm just happy to be back in my bed and in one piece. But I had a conversation before the ceremony about the second drink, and like, and everyone's like, "Oh, the second drink? No, that's crazy. No, don't do that here." And where other ceremonies I've taken 2 drinks hasn't been that big of a deal, but for some reason, it was a big deal here. So I told myself, if the thought even comes up of drink number 2, I'm going. So usually if I'm like having a rough night, like there's no thought. It doesn't even cross my mind. And they don't ask either. Some places they'll say, okay, the bar's now open. You want another drink? Like, come and get it. So I had this experience. I purged. I was shown a few awesome things, insights onto where I'm at right now, which I really appreciated. And I got up and I was fine. And after I purged, like, I was no visions, no nothing. I just felt the afterglow of the ayahuasca. I felt great. And I went downstairs to take a look where I was. It was only like 12 o'clock, and I knew this was going to go to like 3, 4 in the morning. And I'm like, okay, so I just chill for 3, 4 hours. I'm not going to sleep. I'm going to listen to people puking all night and some amazing chanting, or am I gonna do what I'm here to do, what I came here for? And as soon as that thought came up about, oh, should I take a second drink? I was like, fuck, okay, now I got to take it. So I take it, and again, at first it's very slow to come on, and then like it starts coming a bit, and there's this guy in front of me, a couple places down, probably like 250, and he's just having a rough night. He's wailing on the floor. His arms are all over the place. He's puking on himself. He's farting. Like, he's just in rough shape, and he's coming closer to me. Like this big mass is just moving across the floor, and I'm like thinking. At first, I'm thinking like, if this guy fucking gets up on me, I'm gonna snap. I was like, wait, he's a friend. He needs help. Like he's having a rough time. So I'm like, let me send him some light. So I start like sending him some lights, and I'm not like one of those people that like, I don't call myself a healer or like anything like that. I'm just like, okay, how do I send light? I'm gonna send it. Okay.
You're very analytical, logistical. You were gonna be an accountant for F6. I can send them light and say stuff like that.
So how does an accountant send light? Like, where's the ledger? Where's like the double bottom line here that I can like deduct like a positive return, right? So I'm sending them some profit, send some equity, some moral equity. I'm sending over to him. And I see myself sort of like tap into his energy, almost like is the best way. And it's like dark, and there's like this fight going on, and I'm just like, light, send it. And I'm like, okay, I don't exactly know what I'm doing. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. And at this point, the shaman and his helper are both chanting and blowing smoke and like whatever. So I sort of draw myself out of it, and I take a deep breath, and all of a sudden, like, I can't see anymore. Like, just colors everywhere, and I get like sucked right back into something. This experience, like, I'm gone. And it was the most intense ayahuasca experience ever, where right then and there I was like, you idiot, you should not have taken that second drink. What were you thinking? Like I was trying to purge so much, I felt like I turned inside out, and then I was gone. My mind shattered into a million pieces. It was like my brain got thrown through a wall and went through another wall, where like it just wouldn't stop, and just shattered until there was nothing. And like, it was the worst experience I've ever had. And then I'm trying to get a grip, and I feel a drop of water from the Aqua de Florida that they're spraying on probably me at this point, or this guy. Maybe it's me now. Maybe that guy never existed. Maybe the whole time it was me. I don't even know. So
oh man.
So I was so gone that I didn't even know what my body was like, or a body. I didn't know what hands were. I didn't know what a human being was. It was like start from scratch and come back. But it was this experience where I was like recreated. It was mind blowing to be recreated into a human from like pure energy. It's like I went to the other side and I came back from somewhere. And in this process, I felt like, and this is the only way I can explain it, I felt like I was witnessing this birth that's going on right now. Like this labor that's going on in the universe, this like energetic crowning of the head coming through the uterus or the vagina, whatever you want to call it. And it was like this labor that as I'm coming back from nothing, it's like something's going on here. Like there is something going on right now, and it's fucking amazing. And I'm so happy I took that second drink. That like this is like the greatest experience ever. So I went from like really hating my life in that moment, like I never want to do this again. Like literally, that was going through my head. I'm never doing ayahuasca ever again. And then I was like, oh my god, thank God, this is incredible. And I feel like in life, you have to push yourself to that point of getting out of your comfort, like just to break that like. That fucking pain of getting that ice bath, saying, I know I'm going to hate this feeling. But when you get out of it, you're like, oh, I feel alive. I get it. I understand. So that was sort of the process. And then after that, it was like I could interact with the ayahuasca. It was showing me things. I was talking about this fast that I'm going on. And it was showing me about human energy. And it was showing me about inside the human body, how food plays like such a insignificant role in health and vitality. And how a lot of food actually really slows us down. All the shit we eat, a lot of like, I'm a vegetarian. It's showing me like even like everything is like it's so slowing on the human body where, you know, if you let it go a little bit, and I'm doing a fast now, we'll talk about that next a little bit. It was showing me like your thoughts and your energy and the way you sort of, I don't know how to say it, probably like how you intentionally live your life, like that the energy that you live your life with is probably the best way to say it. What is your intention to live? What is your like will to live? Like that's where your vitality comes from, not your thought. It's like that energy of intention, if that makes sense. And it was like the food is like just little, like yeah, you eat it. It's more like an experience, but like having those right thoughts, like thinking you're nourished, thinking you're, you know, like and thinking without thought. It's like knowing. It's more like a knowing, I'd say, is best. So yeah, always when I try to explain ayahuasca experiences, I get into this word game where I'm trying to find words to describe. So I apologize for
You're crushing it so far, man.
Okay, cool, thanks. I just hope it makes sense because listen to myself, I sound like a rambling moron here sometimes. But
no, it's wonderful. I'll just add the one thing just to double down on something that you said is like, you know, I've done ayahuasca and you know, one time I was like, where are my arms? And I wasn't sure if I still had my arms. And then I was like, where are my arms? And then what the scariest thing it did to me was it showed me as like a cell. So it always takes me into the void of like nothingness, right? And can show me things that I don't understand. But so I'm in the void and I'm like nothing. And then it's like I'm a cell or like a one small piece of atom or something. And then it basically takes me out of existence completely. I no longer even exist. And then basically in that feeling, you feel it happen. So it's like sheer terror. I'm like, oh God. And then I'm gone. And then whoop. And then it just like brought me back. And I was like, what the heck? And then it did it to me again. And it did it to me like 2 or 3 times. And it was kind of like a lion playing with me. And my takeaway from that was just like, look, like this is far bigger than you could ever understand. But I love you and you're taken care of. And that was the message that I took back. So, you know, keep going because it's, I'm learning from it's amazing.
The teaching I get, and I get all the time, is that we know fucking nothing. We know so little. And it was like, it was almost making like a comedy show out of what we're doing now. It's like, oh, everyone look over here, and everyone runs there, like, yeah, fossil fuel, like this is the way, and then oh, the Atkins diet, let's all do that. And it's like we're just all distracting ourselves with these ideas, and it's like we're just running in circles, and it's like it's so funny. We take everything so seriously. It's like, guys, like fucking chill the fuck out, like relax, like find out who you are, and like go into the world and have fun and like explore and like don't take things so seriously because you don't know what's going on and you're not going to figure it out in this lifetime either. It's like it's a slow process. Like you'll get there eventually, maybe a million lifetimes from now. But
well, I was going to say, you know, someone like you know, so I grew up very average in school. I definitely wasn't going to smart kid school. Now, you know, and accounting, my brain doesn't work like that. You know, I was always reasonably intelligent, but when someone's like hyper intelligent or super intelligent like you, number one, it's weird as a kid that you want to suppress that because that's just the way our society works. Don't be smart, right? But I think it's interesting when you get to an adult level, you think you're smart and you know something, and that's how I know, like, you know, that's one of the signs to me what enlightenment is. You don't think that you know nothing, you know it. You know that you don't know jack shite. You're just like, okay, I don't, but I can learn something. And what I want to learn a value. So I don't know if you could speak on, like, you know, for the smart cookies in there that are really just trying to, because that's the way your brain works more or less, right? Back in the days, you problem solve.
Mm-hmm.
Figure things out and you put them into boxes and then you build, because that makes sense, right? You can build a house, you can do these things. So you have a processing type of brain. Could you give any kind of like, you know, feedback for people whose brains like work like that, and then how you could kind of balance that out with, you know, I know that I'm intelligent and super smart, but also I don't know anything at the same time, and, you know, combine those perspectives.
I think the biggest thing was just being able to let go, because you're always trying to figure things out, be ahead of the game, have a plan, have a solution, know what's going on at all times. This big like control, like I'm smart, I should be in control, like I need to be in control of things, or I need to control, like, and it's like, first of all, you'll never be in control of everything. You can't, it's impossible. No matter how much you plan, I don't know the last 5-year plan you had, but every 5-year plan that I find is, once a 5-year comes, it's nowhere near the plan that I'd set forth. It's always changing. So it's more like, you know, just let go and try to like balance like this and this, your heart and your head. And I had a very interesting ayahuasca experience about that around the time that I was going through all this shit. I'll just say it really quickly. Um, in the ayahuasca experience, I started having heart palpitations. So I thought I was going to die. And I said, I don't even want a death experience. Now I've had a death experience. Please don't give me another death experience. Like, cause I'm feeling it physically. So I'm going to really think that I'm dead. And so I just started breathing into my heart, and I went into my heart, I guess is the best way to say it. And it was like, this is a knock on the door to start getting more into your heart and get out of your head. You're making it more difficult than you need to. Like, just listen to your heart, listen to your feeling. What do you feel? Stop trying to control everything. Let go. And then I was like, okay. And as soon as I thought that and felt that and just started feeling how I was feeling there, like the palpitations went away. And I was like, okay, I need to remember this. I need to put this into practice more often. Because a lot of the time, especially the smart people, it's always like they're up here thinking all day, all night, trying to figure out what's their next move. And it's just like so consuming, and yeah, that's what I would recommend. I don't even know if I answered your question properly, but
No, it's a really, really beautiful answer, man. And somebody with your mindset can, say that's like, the Zen lessons, man. Like when I did ayahuasca, it's like, what is like the most timeless Zen lesson? Let go. You're not in control. You don't know anything. Surrender. And ayahuasca forces you to,
yeah,
in a way that you didn't even know was possible.
exactly.
And the Zen monks are getting you there through different ways, but an analytical mind is just analyzing, and they can't get that experience as you had talked about the experience. So I think it's a really great answer, and keep going with your story. Keep us down the road. This is exciting.
Yeah, no, which story? Where I'm at now?
So you
Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
no, so with the ayahuasca, with your ayahuasca experience, so you had more, did you not?
Oh no,
But
so that experience was an earlier experience. The one that happened now that was basically it. Like after I saw that, I was just in awe for the rest of the night. Like I was like just trying to breathe deeply, just to feel how alive I was. Like, and you have this like I talked to some friends of mine that don't do any of this stuff, and they say, you know what, I think I know what you're talking about. Like I really think like all these things you say, I know that already. But it's like when you're in that experience, you're like, I've never experienced it like this. I've never experienced love like this. I've never experienced like sadness, gratitude, understanding. Like it just elevates your I don't know. I don't even know what the word, your soul to a different level to really understand these things. I've had so many ayahuasca experiences. I could talk all day about the shit that's happened to me, but um, those are just all my stories. Again, like I encourage people to have their own experience, because that's where like it might be interesting to hear me ramble on, but it's not going to be as interesting as your own experience. I'll tell you that 100%. Your own experience will be a million times more interesting than anyone you ever hear of ayahuasca experience as they tell it, unless you're someone like Terrence McKenna. He's just a lyrical genius. The way he explains things, it's like storytelling. Or maybe like a Michael Sanders. They're just so good at articulating, but your own experience will still be better because you get to see it with your own eyes. You get to and more than see, you get to feel the experience, right? Like you have this thing that you've never experienced before, and it's like multidimensional greatness.
Yeah, man, absolutely. The one thing I was gonna say there is, you talk about the people like, yeah, I think I know, and you're in there and you have this experience, but in Zen, again, that's why I love Zen. I remember reading books when I was young on Zen and enlightenment and all these things, and it was like nothing was going in. It was like those, I always say it's like one of those pictures you need to cross your eyes for and it pops out. Well, ayahuasca is the pop out. It's like, oh goodness. Now that being said, I did have an experience through meditation that was very similar to ayahuasca, and that was why when people told me about ayahuasca when I first heard about it, I wanted to do it, because I was like, I've been to that place. I don't know what that place is, but if you're telling me I can get there with a drink, sign me up. I'm going, because it's super interesting. And so in Zen, they talk about levels of understanding. It's not that the lessons in this world are all that difficult to understand. You can just deepen, that ability to let go and surrender. You can deepen that ability and connect with yourself and your heart and your intuition. And you can deepen these timeless lessons. And through your experience, that's why, you know, me watching you the last few months has been really a joy, because you can see in the way that you're doing it, the way that you act, the way that you're talking. And when people kind of start to get into this field, I notice a lot of, you know, I call it like the spiritual ego, but they're now attaching to an identity that they haven't had the experience yet. They've read a bunch of books, they've done a lot of things, but they haven't yet put in the work, you know, so to speak. So it's like, you know, if you're going to the gym, it takes a few months to start to show the muscles or whatever. But when you really do it, you have this level of power and humility, you know? And so since you've thrown yourself in the fire, I think that you've really done that for me, you know, observing you really being like, I'm not, you know, you're the first Canadian guy to be certified in Wim Hof method. You know, you're not going out there like, I'm certified in Wim Hof. All of a sudden I'm cool and, you know, I know how to breathe and I can sit in ice, and you're just a total dick. You know what I mean? I just give you a call and be like, yo, Gio, you're being a dick. You know what I mean? Go sit in some more ice, you bastard. It's about how do you integrate this information? How does it become useful in your life? And how do you become a better human and ambassador for all people involved? Number one, how do you understand yourself? And then how do you share that? And you're sharing it in the best way that you know how. And
that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. And just backtracking a bit, when you're talking about levels of understanding, you don't need to have an ayahuasca experience. Your everyday life is the greatest teacher you'll ever have if you just pay attention. And I always understood that, you know, like, yeah, it's a good theory, I understand. But when you sort of get slapped in the face a couple times, you start saying, okay, pay attention. So the Burning Man experience, every time I thought I figured out, I had a level of understanding of what that experience was, something came back into my life and said, you need to look at it again. There's more there for you. And I'm talking like 8 different times. And every single time I saw something else. And every single time it was magical. And you don't need to go to Burning Man to have these experiences too. You can go out into the middle of wilderness and have a difficult experience. Because it was a difficult experience, the one I had. But it was glorious in its own right. Like, I'm so grateful that it happened. I'm so grateful that I had to walk through the desert in nothing but my underwears and running shoes and almost freeze to death, to realize things about myself that I didn't know, you know? Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say about that. Just levels of understanding. There's so much. And the worst shit that happens to you, whoever's listening now going through a tough time, the worst things that happen are the greatest gifts. There's something there that you'll learn so much from if you can just have the eyes to see it, to step out and say, okay, instead of being a victim saying like, why is this happening to me? Why me? Why me? It's like, okay, why is this happening? Like, what do I have to learn from this? It's the same question of why, but from a victim to more of like an observer, like, okay, why is this happening? Rather than, oh, why me? So that's what I want to share on that thread there.
Yeah.
So you're going to ask a question.
Well, you know, now you got me the sidetrack because it's so good. I just, oh my God. I meet this guy and we're at camp. It's a wonderful camp. And then, you know, I was like, oh yeah, Gio's a cool guy. And then next day is like, yeah, Gio's flying out of Burning Man early. He's had a traumatic experience and he's flying out early. I just remember coming up to you like, man, I had one at Lightning in a Bottle. Like, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay.
When you came up to me, this is all I heard. Blah, 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 Lightning in a Bottle. I was like, there's someone talking to me? I can't even hear right now. Like, I was like in shock.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But again, it's recurring in my life. It's like I gotta get the fuck out of here. Why do I do this to myself? And then after, it's like, thank you, thanks universe for that lesson I needed. Because me, I guess I need to get it a little bit harder to really have the impact. You know, like it's really got to hit me.
You're stubborn.
Yeah, I'm a Taurus, man. I'm a Taurus. That's my wife. I'm like the stubbornest guy you'll meet. But it has its benefits. It has its benefits. Yeah. That's why I can do these things like go in the ice. Because like I'm like, okay, I gotta smash my head through that ice. I'm getting in that ice bucket today.
Just like your Burning Man story. I'm getting to the front of that stage. I'm gonna get to the stage. Now, I don't know if we like Cole's notes that story because it's so gnarly, but like, do you think like, have you sorted out with his actual people or beings or a mix of both? Because I still haven't released the article, but my theory about Burning Man is it's like kind of wormhole-y, you know what I mean? And I don't think it gives you what you want, just like ayahuasca, you know what I mean? You go into Burning Man thinking, and again, a whole article on just like why Burning Man is terrible and awful. Well, number one, weekend burners, the worst. But number two is like the people going in there thinking they're going to get this, oh, it's so glorious and candy. But
4 days of just like awesomeness. It's like, yeah, all right, buddy, come on in. Get out of here.
Right. Just like ayahuasca. It's like, oh
It's
yeah,
like
cool.
life. It's like life. You set
Yeah.
expectations, and then you don't meet your expectations, and you get a rude awakening. And then you got to change the way you walk in this world, and then it gets a little bit easier the next time because you have this experience. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, the Burning Man was like it was great for me, and I just to answer your question, did I figure out if it was a group? What I figured out was it doesn't matter because it was for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not supposed to figure out who did what to me because that's me trying to blame someone for the experience. And trust me, I was pointing the finger at fucking anyone. I was pointing the finger at Michael Sanders. Why'd you invite me here? Pointing this finger, even at my wife. Why'd you let me go to this thing? At first, it's like I'm never going to Burning Man again. And now I'm like, man, maybe I should go back to Burning Man. But it was about me and like the world that we live in. This is what the real conclusion I've come to is that the world that we live in, there's so much shit going on. There's so many opportunities to create experiences for us that we can learn from. And you might walk into somewhere and it's the right environment that something's going to create an experience that you need to grow. And they'll use whatever's there, people or not, and their experience is going to intertwine with your experience. And it's going to create something for each other. So I could have been just an asshole walking into that group. From my perspective, it wasn't like that. But from theirs, it could have been. And maybe what the reality is, I have no idea. But I had this whole experience happen, and I seen it very clearly from my experience. And then going back, looking at it, it's like, oh yeah, I had to learn that. Oh, I had to learn that. It's like, why did I even want to be in that stage in the first place? What was I going to say when I got up there? And it goes back to me having a podcast, me trying to talk to people. At first, I was like, I need to get a following because it's important to have a following. Because if I'm talking to nobody, what's the point? So how do you get a following? Okay, read how to get a following. Oh, you like this many, you do this many, you add this many people. And then I was like, oh, and maybe I can sponsor this. Oh, what if I get this guy on my show? He's got a following, so I'll take some of his following. And like the whole energy was wrong. It was like, no, now, second time around, I'm just going to do what I want. I'm going to have the people that I think are cool, that I like. I'm going to say the shit that I want. And if 10 people listen to my podcast, I don't give a shit. That's all I want. Because they can email me and tell me, dude, that fucking podcast was amazing. It changed my life, changed my perspective. And that's all I want. Because that's the most gratifying. Not these people that I got liked on Instagram that don't even know who I am, don't even like it. They probably live in India, can't even speak English. Like I put a meme or something that, had a picture of a dog and they thought was cute. So there was just so much there, and I'm just rambling on. But yeah, I learned so much. I learned so much.
Cat likes.
What's that?
You got some of those cat likes.
Cat likes, yeah.
It's like do a funny cat video, get some followers.
That's it, right? I was trying to figure out all these tricks and hacks to grow your following. But then I just had this realization that no, I'm doing it wrong. And maybe those will work, and maybe those are good, and maybe I'll get some people from that. But I was like, I'm not spending my energy on that. I'm spending my energy just doing what I need to do. And now it's very clear. And the other thing about Burning Man, I forgot to message that guy, was the morning when I saw the burning pyramids. It's etched into my brain. And I didn't have a camera or nothing to take because I was pretty much in my underwears after, getting beat up and robbed. And I realized like all these people are taking pictures of these burning pyramids. And I'm standing there and it's like, I don't need a camera to take a picture of this incredible moment in my life. I'm going to remember this shit. I'm not going to miss it trying to take a picture. I'm going to remember it right now. And luckily someone else took a picture and I'm getting it blown up right now as we speak. But those pyramids, when I got back to the airport, I tried to leave early. I was trying to look for a magazine on the wall. And I was looking for a football magazine in San Francisco, thinking it's a big football place. It's going to be a football magazine for sure. There's no magazine, but there's a little red book. And on the front of it, it's two little pyramids. And it was The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And I read that book on the whole flight home, and it made so much sense. It just gave me so much more insight into what happened to me, how a guy went on this journey, got beat up and robbed, and he realized he had so much treasure at home, and he had to go on this journey to just figure out what the fuck is going on. And I was like, thank you. And it's like the universe kept on giving me these gifts. Then I meet Matt, and he tells me the story of a guy who has the same experience. I'm like, holy shit, blew my mind. And just time after time, then I meet this medium, Kelly Elson, and she's like, oh yeah, I tapped into your experience. I had this Medusa energy, and I started off the night in front of Medusa. The Medusa is all about being frozen, and I was held down and restrained. And the way the Medusa frees herself from her misery, because she dies at the end of the story, is she looks at herself and she destroys herself, and she's freed from this curse, right? And at Burning Man, that whole night started with the Medusa. So it's just like, look again, you'll see more. Look again, you'll see more. So analyze, be aware of what happens to you in your life, and there's so much there. Like I can't even say it enough. Sorry for
Now,
rambling.
would you think, no, I love it, man. I appreciate it. Would you say, and this is like personal, but like, like you looking at your shadow, right? Because you talk about, and I'm all for people kicking butt, how they want to kick butt, but it's very common, especially I'm seeing it, people doing it for the likes, for, you want to be in consciousness or you want to do this. So then you're the guy, right? Because even if you come into consciousness or anything that you do with the wrong energy, you know what I mean? Now you're doing it with this right, pure energy. You can use any kind of marketing hack,
Yeah.
tool, technique if you want, as long as you're coming from a place like you could use that for your, you want to bake muffins and you want to be the best muffin maker ever. And then you're using these tools to help you create, but you're not making muffins. So people that say, oh, Gio, your muffins are so cool. Check out how dope my muffins are. Now you like me. And now I'm going to get some of your muffin followers because I want to like take your
Yeah,
energy. You're giving.
the intention like was always there. I wanted to share awesome shit just to share with people. But there was also that like, how do we get big? How do I make an income off this so I can do this full time one day? And then like trying to figure out how to do this. Like, how are other people doing it? And it was just like, no, I need to change the energy around this. I need to do it. I need to do what feels good to me, what I want to do. And I'm telling you, as soon as I started thinking like that and thinking differently, just focusing on like being aware of how I wanted to do it, like things change. People say, "Hey, man, I want to interview you," or like I was getting more people following me, or more people reaching out to me and thanking me for something I said, which I didn't think anything of, but I was just being myself. And like the whole energy changed, and I feel like this momentum building now, where like, you know what, I'm gonna reach out to who I need to reach out to. I'm gonna connect with who I need to reach out to in the most natural way possible. I'm not gonna force it. I'm not gonna try. I'm not gonna get upset if some celebrity shuts me down because they don't want to be on my show. If I bump into someone or get connected and I ask them, it's like, listen, if you're meant to be here, you're meant to be here. I'm not going to stress or worry. It's like that whole thought thing about like trying to be in control and trying to like control this growth of my podcast. Like, no, fuck that. Like, let's do it a different way. And that's how it's been since the last few months. And it just feels great. Now I'm in a process of rebranding, coming up with a new name. It's going to launch in February. Got some awesome guests, some awesome stories.
Want to give us a sneak peek of the name, or is it top secret?
No, there's no top secret. Like Wim Hof's going to be on there again. I'm going to do the full Burning Man story as well. I'm trying to find a lot more of like less celebrity, but with a really awesome story, like people that inspire me that are not out there known. Yeah, there's a bunch. There's a bunch of great ones. Elliot Hulse is going to be on there again. I'll get you on there for sure. Sanders will probably be on there.
Sanders and I seem to work as a team, which is pretty funny. Like,
it's like if I could just hang out with you two like once a week, like that's all I need in my life. Once a week with you guys, it's like pure heaven. The conversations are just like golden.
I probably provide the beard, but Sanders provides like everything else. Like
no, I wouldn't say that. It's a good balance. He's
amazing, man. I love it.
Yeah, and I feel like once you start getting it, just starts flowing. Like things just start happening. Like the right people like start coming out. Like I'll tell you, like the people I attracted into my life, it's like exactly who I need. And like even I'll tell you a small funny story where I was in the Wim Hof group and I see people are asking like where people from. I'm like, guys, I'm from Toronto. If everyone wants to come out, like I'm certified, I can teach you what I know. And this one guy reached out and he's like, yeah, I'm in Maple, which is not far from where I live. And I'm like, yeah, let's meet at this trail near my house, go for a hike. So he goes his first time out in the cold, and he was pretty solid. He was giving it, and he didn't have gloves or a hat, and I felt bad for the guy. That I was doing good, and we do this whole long walk. I get back to my car. I'm just in my shorts and my boots, and I go down to reach my key out of my sock, and it's gone. And I'm like, thank God this guy came, or else I don't have to walk all the way home from here, which is probably about an hour and a half with no shirt on, like -10, like, oh my God. I was just like, I was already like at the end, and it was like, I was like, I just wanted to like help this guy, like to come and train and just show him some stuff. And I was so grateful that he actually came, first of all, to keep me company, but secondly, like, thank God I lost my key, or else I would have been stuck there. So it's like, yeah, the universe is just like, it's there for you. You just got to really believe.
Yep.
Ask, believe, receive.
Yeah, I love that, man. And I think it all comes like, for me, like, observing you and all the books and stuff, but you got to get to that level of integrity and humility and service. You know what I mean? It's like, you're really trusting you're really letting go and you're really connecting. And when you connect to, you know, your skills and what you want to uniquely offer and your own growth, you know, it's like, okay, I know I don't know anything. This is really complicated, but I'm going to tune into my heart. And this is what I feel is great. And I'm going to keep following that feeling. And that's your compass, man. Your feelings and your heart are your compass. You'll meet the people you need to meet. You'll grow. And it doesn't happen overnight, because it's small choices and integrity over time. And as you build up enough of that energy, you'll start to kind of get leaps, but you'll want to, you know, it's like me wanting to do Wim Hof method right now, right? So I've done some Wim Hof breathing, right? And I'm coming over to Geo and I'm like, yo, bro, let's do some Wim Hof here. Like mastery on day one. You're like, well, give it a shot. And then, you know what I mean? And then I get hypothermia or something, you know what I mean? It's like, but if you can go through the process and you do the work, you can get here too. And so there's no skipping steps.
Yeah, exactly. And I try to tell people, I'm like, guys, don't listen to anything I say. Only listen to what resonates with you. If something I say, like, you feel it, that's what you gotta listen to. Because I'm just telling you my interpretation of my own experience, or my interpretation of something I read. You know, that's all I have to share. And that's all I want to share, is like what I can that I think will be beneficial to others. But only listen to what resonates with you. You know, like, have an open mind. If you feel it, you know, like, go for it.
Yeah, definitely. You know, Bruce Lee always talked about that. He's like, take what works for you and reject what doesn't. And I think that on that point, a little bit differently, you know, all we can have is, you know, share our real truth. You know, I was having this debate with these guys in Las Vegas. I can't remember what it was. It was like life or dimensions or something.
Red or black?
You know, like, I don't know, man. Yeah,
Is
exactly.
it
Right. And he goes,
red or black at the roulette table? Was that in Vegas we're talking about?
Oh yeah. It's always red. I don't know. But you know, he says something, and like, to me, I disagree with it, right? And then I offered my perspective, and I was like, nah, it's not like that. Like, it's like this. And he goes, you know, you're saying as if you know, right? And this had something to do with about, like, you know, basically like a really deep understanding on like existence or something like that, right? And he goes, yeah, but you're saying it like you know. And I was like, well, there's only two truths. And maybe someone smarter than me can add some clarity, but you know, one is universal truth. It just is, you know what I mean? Like, you know, when you hear like that ayahuasca or like mother truth, or like somebody who's really wise say something and it's just a universal truth, and you're like, whoa, like everybody can agree to that. You know what I mean? Like, take care of the planet within reason is like a truth, you know, we should probably do that, right? There's going to be some sort of effect, probably. That's a universal truth. And then there's a personal truth. You know, I was like, for me, you know, I have left my body through a breath pattern, and I've experienced a dimension, whatever we want to call it, that's way beyond here, that makes me believe this to a way higher degree than you without never experiencing it. All I can offer you is my truth. And you can take with that whatever you want. But I'm not going to filter or dumb down my truth because it makes you feel uncomfortable and you've never seen it. It's up to you to figure out what the heck you want to do with it. And I think if we come from a place and share from our experiences, you know, and like you said, pay attention to everything in life, because you don't need to do anything. But if you start to pay attention to every single person you interact with, the person on the bus, like massive self-awareness, you'll start to learn, like, from the birds, from the trees. And there's this old story, the Zen story, and, you know, it becomes a Zen master. He's like, how did you learn these things? He's like, I learned, you know, how to let go from a crow. And I learned, you know, this from a bird, you know, all these different things. And he's just like, I paid attention to nature. And, you know, he was having a, you know, conversation with another Zen master, something along those lines. But it was about the importance of paying attention to daily life, which has all the answers that you need for where you are right now, if you can pay attention, and it's going to take you where you need to go. So that's my rant with that. And where I want to go with this is either, you know, we could do both, but I want to talk a little bit about like what you learned from being a certified Wim Hof instructor. Is it just about the breathing? Why is it important? Should people look into it and do it? Cold training maybe, and talking a little bit about your fast, or, you know, which one you want to tackle first.
Whichever you prefer. We can go Wim Hof first. I saw the Vice episode, and I was so intrigued, like climbing a mountain in your shorts. Like, I've always thought, even as a kid, like, we have these powers that we're just not using, you know, and you seeing this guy doing that, I was like, wow. And then him teaching people to do it like in a week, I was like, okay, this is for me. I got to try this. Like, right away it called. It was like, go find this guy. So I got in touch with him. I got him on the podcast, and I became friends with him and his son. And I went to the first training, which was in LA. I was doing all this stuff at home, and really quickly, like the breathing and the ice, you just start feeling it. Like you feel a difference so quickly. Where like when I was afraid, like I hated cold. Like now I go in the cold shower, like within 5-10 seconds, like my body adapts. It doesn't feel cold anymore. It's like it just adapts. At first it feels cold, but then it's like gone. It's like, oh wow, something's there. Then you get this adrenaline rush coming out after. And you do the breathing and you drop into this deep meditation really quickly. So it's a combination of cold breathing and mindset. And I think ultimately what it's doing is just training your mind to be able to access those spaces really quickly just by setting your mind to it. So I can go right on to cold now and I can just adapt, and then like Wim can just turn it on whenever he wants. They'll inject him with like E. coli or and do like the endotoxin study, and he can, like, with his mind, he'll shut it off and have no reaction. He says anyone can do this, and he proved it in a study where they got like 12 or 100 people, I don't know how many. They injected them all. He trained them before how to do it, and they all got the same results. So the method, it works on many different levels, but most people, they go there for the macho-ness because they want to climb a mountain, and they realize there's this whole spiritual aspect that you tap into with the breathing and the self-awareness and the feeling, the emotions that come up. Like when you're breathing, you're releasing a lot of like emotions that are sort of like locked into your body, that maybe traumas from early childhood or things that happened to you in your life that you just hold on to. You breathe enough, you're changing the chemistry, something's going on. I don't know which way it works, if the emotion gets released first, the chemistry changes, and then it is like science just tries to explain what's going on. But you have these like awakenings, you have these realizations, and being with a group of 30 guys in Colorado who are all part of the training, we all became like awesome friends. You hear all their stories coming from all different walks of life and how this method just changed their life. And it started off like, maybe it was that someone had a health issue, and then they got better and more, or they started becoming more spiritual because of it, like all these things. And Wim doesn't really subscribe to any sort of spiritual dogma. He just says, look, find your own teacher, like do it. And the way they teach is like a little bit, it's interesting. I don't know if it's genius or if it's just unorganized, but like it's not highly structured. But I feel like it's like that on purpose. Like you have to figure it out. You have to really feel it and figure it out. And it's like genius because it forces you to say, okay, this is what works for me. Like I'm here, I'm safe. I know nothing's going to happen. I'm going to go in this freezing cold lake for 7 minutes and not feel my feet for the next half an hour. That's what happened. But like you come out of there, you're like, wow, man, I did that. And now I can feel my toes now, so I'm not upset anymore, And it's amazing, like just that feeling of just going out in nature within your shorts, and it's like -30, and the year ago you were out there and you're bundled up and you can't even breathe because your face is so like squeezed into your head, and now you're out there with nothing on. You're like, yes, I'm alive. You feel alive, and I love it, man. I love it. I want to teach it. I want to share it. I want to jump into frozen lakes with people, because it's an experience. Like it's something that you're not used to, and it's just like, wow, man, you just feel something. So up at Luminous, we're definitely gonna be doing all kinds of stuff like that, and everyone's welcome to come for a weekend. Whoever wants to come and hang out, it'll be open to people who want to come and just experience. I also got into a lot of like the native medicine. So it's like sweat lodges, different types of rituals and retreats and drumming. And again, it was something that I really thought about a lot. And the teacher just showed up at the front door of the center, and I was like, I knew why they were there, and now I'm working on that, bringing that into it. And like those are experiences where you go to sweat lodge, it's pitch black, and it's like really hot, and there's like a shitload of people, and there's a drum, and there's chanting, and like you think it's about the heat, but you get in there and you start having these experiences where I start crying, or like just feel these emotions come up, and you realize there's so much depth to it that our mind, we know so little, especially with an ignorant mind. You don't think like what's possible, and then you have this experience like, wow, there's something here. And one of the guys that I had on a podcast, Sal, he's the main teacher, but there's a lot of teachers. He did a 4-day humblatia, and a humblatia is where you go out into the wilderness with no food or no water for 4 days, and it's like you're pledging a connection to the earth. And he said on the 4th day, it was like interdimensional beings came and sat with him and just went over like his life and was talking to him. Like he said, it was like real. They were like right in front of me, and like from like it just changed everything. I'm like, okay, that's where I'm going. That's what I'm working up to. I want to do that. I want to do the sun dance where they tie you, they pierce you through your chest, and they tie you to a tree, and you gotta rip through it. It's like that's the sun dance. That's the Sundance Film Festival. That's a native sun dance. It's like this initiation. And there's all this crazy stuff, but it's like so deep medicine, like ayahuasca, like all these other things. It's a whole nother realm. And it's like, I'm so excited to just learn about it. Right. So I don't know. I got on a tangent. We're talking about Wim. I just went off into left field there about other stuff.
Loved it. No, holy smokes, man, that's intense. Well, I'll say, for me, I've gone in super cold. I haven't done the Wim Hof, but I've done polar bear dips, and they're cold as so cold. Living in Whistler, I would kind of experiment here and there with that kind of thing. But when you're forcing the body to do something that you would never normally do, because we're in this comfort, Wim talks about that a little bit, we're in this comfort. But what I was going to say about his teaching is that any great teacher like Thich Nhat Hanh, is like, you're the teacher, or not Thich Nhat Hanh, Krishnamurti is the best at it, where he's like playing ping pong with a wall. You know what I mean? No matter what you ask him, he's just going to reflect it back to you. And you're like, are you even teaching me anything? Well, should I be teaching you? You're like, damn it, why am I here? Like, what's happening? And so, it's so important that people recognize that they are the master. Bruce Lee, he's like my mentor, was just like, you're the master. I'm showing you these ways, take what works. But what he's doing is giving you an opportunity for you to become the superhuman, you to do something that you didn't know you could do. It doesn't matter if people are impressed by you sitting your ass in cold, which is, dumb, but not dumb, but awesome. But you know what I mean? It seems dumb, but people are like,
it feels
oh
great.
My God.
People don't believe it. It feels great. Like you get out, you're like, wow.
Yeah. I can't remember what I posted something on your Facebook wall. I was like, teaching people how to freeze their butts off or something like that. I was like, that's awesome. But the value of it once you do it, and you don't know until you do it. But I think it's like that internal thing is like, I can do it. I did it. And that's what it was like when I was training with the Shaolin monks. Yeah. It was like, wherever I thought my 100 was, I was at like 300 every day.
Yeah.
I'm like done at 100. And
you're pushing your limits. You're breaking out of your comfort zone. And that's where the growth comes. That's where like you got to suffer a little bit. You got to go through a little bit of that pain, and then you achieve. It's like everything in life, and birth is the perfect example. It's that labor you got to go through, that pain of being born, and then it's like you make it, and then it's like ecstasy. But yeah, so the women, there's so many benefits. Like I can go out in the cold now, and I laugh at people. Like everyone's freezing. I'm like, look at you. I'll like my wife. Like look at you all bundled up. Like this is like nothing. She's like, shut up, asshole. Sorry.
Right. Oh man. So now you're on to another interesting journey, fasting. I have done many. So the most I've done is, I've done a few 48 hours. I think I've done one that was 72. I might have caved just before 72. And a lot of what I've read in like really high level spiritual books, the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ, they talk about it in the Bhagavad Gita. I've heard it talked about in Yogananda, the autobiography of a yogi. They talk about fasting.
They talk about it in all the ancient scriptures. All the ancient scriptures, the Greek mythology. Like it's healing, but it's also spiritual. And you tap into these other realms. So fasting was something that always fascinated me. Bad joke. And I was always curious. I'm like, what is this fasting all about? And like working on the psychedelic doc, I was looking into fasting for reaching altered states. And for me now, it's like I follow the signs. When things start popping up in my face, it's like, okay, I got to go and try that now. So I've done a 3-day juice fast. I did a 7-day juice fast. I've done a couple 24-hour dry fast before, where it's just like 24 hours, no food, no water. And I was like, one day I'm going to do a really like intense fast, and I'll know when I find it. And then my wife tells me about this group someone added her to on Facebook, and she's telling me about these crazy people that are like disappearing, they're withering away, and like their eyes are changing color, and like they're taking pictures of their shit and they're putting it on the internet just to show people all the stuff that's coming out. And I'm like, you're nuts. Like, what are you even looking at? Like, don't show me that stuff. And then I got curious, and she added me to the group, and I was fascinated, and I started talking to the guy, and we find out that the guy who created this fast lives where I grew up, in my hometown, like where I grew up, like right here. And his first cousin is my wife's maid of honor. So like I sort of like I'm connected to this guy somehow. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing this fast. That's it. So it's a 108-day fast. This guy is a really interesting guy. I'm going to have him also on my podcast to talk about his journey. He's been healing for 26 years. He had a lot of health issues, but he's learned a lot, and it goes more into a spiritual realm as well when you go on the longer dry fast. And in the group, you see like amazing stories of like transformation through fasting. So they use grape juice and lemon juice for 108 days. They say that's what you need to really clean out the junk in your system that's been there for, in my case, 34 years piling up, to really get it out. And then it's more of transitioning to like a fruitarian diet, and almost breatharian or something like that. So I've been reading a lot of like Arnold Ehret's The Mucusless Diet, which is really interesting stuff. Talks about fruitarianism, and he was curing all diseases. And like Dr. Sebi, who just died down in, I think he was in Haiti healing people. A lot about fruitarianism, and I think it's coming back, and people are going to start realizing the benefits of it. And if a gorilla can eat nothing but bananas and be huge, I'm sure we can find a way to build our muscles by eating just fruit. Because I think in my core beliefs, I've been vegetarian for a long time, off and on, vegan. I really believe we're not intended to eat animals or their byproducts or drink milk from like cows. It just makes so much sense. It's like a fruit looks good. It's colorful. You can pick it and it sort of like snaps with just a turn of your wrist. If you look at tomatoes, like there's these little elbows on them that if you just turn them with your finger, they just pop right off. It's like designed perfectly for a human, just a handheld. And carry it with you. I can hold a tomato for a couple of days and it'll keep me hydrated. It's like a perfect carrying mechanism. I don't need a bottle. I don't even need water. I could just eat fruit and I could be okay. So this is the theory. But if you don't clean your system, you're not going to be absorbing the fruit. This is some of the theory that this fast is doing. It's like get the clean first, then you can absorb the nutrients from the fruit that you need. So I found it fascinating, and I thought this is for me, and I really want to understand it. And there's only one way to understand it is to do it and see what happens. So right now I am on day 4. A long way to go. It's going to be very difficult. I'm a sucker for abusing myself like this. But I know there's going to be a lot there for me. Like I know I'm going to learn a lot. I know I'm going to have a great experience, whether it's difficult or not. And right now I fucking feel fantastic. Like I haven't eaten anything since Friday, and today's what, Tuesday evening. I've drank in about 1.5 liters of grape juice with lemon every single day. In between a short window, 12 to 6. I feel so clear. There's like zero mind fog. I feel like I got this buzzing on my crown chakra. Like it's like just opening up, like energetically, like I have so much energy. I painted like luminous today. I'm going to paint the rest of my house tonight because I'm doing a kitchen renovation. I'm sleeping better. I'm just like, I feel great. And I'm knocking on wood, even though I don't believe in luck. It's just, I guess, a saying. That this is going to keep going, and hopefully I can ride this right through. But I think there's something there. I think all the stuff I'm doing, I feel like I'm being drawn to it, and like just intuitively, because like they're healing mechanisms. They'll optimize your life. They'll make you feel better. And they're all absolutely pretty much free. Like the whole medical establishment, like I feel like that's got to change. And I'm not saying like end, because like there's a lot of good things that they're doing with like emergency medicine and like fixing bones and people get into an accident and saving people's lives. I just feel like in the overall health arena, like we still have a lot to learn. And I feel that's going back to basics, and people are going to refine their health through things that don't cost anything. That's my own prediction anyways. And I'm going to use myself as an example. If I can do it, then if people want to learn, I'll show them what I did. Simple as that. So that's my fasting story.
I love it, man. Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to get you back on at day 100, and we'll say like Skeletor on there is like, oh man, I've done it, or you'll just transcend your being. You know what I mean? You'll be hovering in lotus position, and be like, oh well, damn. I was like, all right, well, I'm starting fasting today because that's what I want. And go ahead.
I just want to add one thing. So one of the theories is that like the breatharianism is that you're getting the energy from the air. So instead of having a meal 3 times a day, I do the Wim Hof breathing 3 times a day. So I feel like I'm getting the energy. And in my mind, I'm visualizing myself getting bigger and stronger rather than withering away. Because most people, they go on a fast, what's their mind telling them? I'm going to wither away.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose all this weight, which I probably will lose weight anyways. But I'm trying to use the mind to sort of say, give me the energy from the atmosphere and let me use that to keep strong. So It's an experiment. Sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt
well,
that.
no, that's really important. I think that you said that because the mind is everything, and you can direct it. In the autobiography of a yogi, he talks about meeting this yogi who hasn't eaten in years, and she stopped eating when she was 12 when she connected with God or something along those lines. And she's like, "Cool, like let me, like I don't want to eat anymore. Just like, I'm going to commit to this." And he apparently says, "Okay." And Yogananda spends a week with her. Says he never sees her eat or drink. None of her followers have ever seen her eat and drink. And there's some other documented studies as well, like the Buddha boy. They had tests on him for like a week or 21 days, and I was like, well, why wouldn't you continue testing him if this kid apparently doesn't like? Shouldn't that
How do you
be
do
more?
it? Let's learn about this. No, like let's figure out what's going on here, right?
Exactly. And I think it's like, people like you and people are willing to experiment, and check these things out. But it's interesting because like you just said, and we just said, like in all the religious and ancient texts, it talks about fasting as the clearest way to connect with source. You know what I mean? Going out to, well, ideally nature too, the 4-day experience your friend was talking about, yeah, communicating with extra dimensional beings, and that could be right around the corner. But what it is, it's a vibrational thing. If we're here and the highest we're at is like 80, and like the beings that are higher at 95, we got to get up to 95 to see them and experience them, because they can't come down, it's too dense. Like they can't get into our zone.
So maybe the food is used to intentionally bring us down. And I don't want to get into conspiracy theories or any of that kind of stuff, but if you think about it, our whole society is revolved around eating. Trust me, I'm seeing it now because I get the cravings. Everywhere you look, it's a restaurant, supermarket. Your day is broken up between breakfast, lunch, and dinner, a lunch break at work. You go home for dinner, and like you're sort of scheduled to eat. Make sure you get your calories. Make sure you get your 2,000 calories. Eat a big breakfast. It's important for you. It's like, wait, did I ever try not eating to see how I felt? No, most people didn't. Most people feel that first craving, and what I've realized is more cravings than hunger, because I don't feel hungry. I just crave, like I want that feeling in my mouth of like, like a pizza or something, or like a nice focaccia or something, where it's like, oh, the thought of it tastes so good, but like I know after I'm probably gonna feel like shit. So like, what's really going on here? Am I addicted to food? And do I really need it? Those are the questions that I'm thinking right now, and I'm also thinking about 108 days from now what the first thing I'm gonna eat is, but that's a different story. Because it's like the mind is right.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, and when I do mine, what I find the most interesting is that it's not so much the food because I'm hungry. It's exactly what you said. It's the sensation. I like the sensation. I like the taste. And not to go conspiracy road, which I'm always for, and I've never really done it on the podcast. It is what it is. Look into food and it's killing you.
Yeah.
Just look into it. Just have a peek. It's not a conspiracy. It just is. Like if you read it and you look at the chemicals, you look at what they're putting into meat, you look at all these things. When you really understand food, and again, I talk about this at the beginning of my podcast, I'm really leveling up on what I eat this year. Vegetarian. Last couple of years I've eaten very limited meat, so I'm trying to eat none. But I'm also trying to get all those additional foods. So the show is sponsored by Organifi, which I'm stoked on because they have a 12 superfood mix that's 100% legit, and I've been loving that. But then also taking in, like what are my meals, right? Like greens and lots of hummus now. But I'm slowly getting better because eventually it's going to be cleaner and cleaner. But you get food with, look at a can, look at what's in ketchup. Look when you eat, like when you go out, to make a choice that's really clean is really hard.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard. So, if it is in fact holding us down vibrationally, which I think it is, because, if you're going to go do a meditation or you're going to go do a test and you can eat KFC and then all you can eat Big Macs, you're not going to be able to move. You're not going to be able to think. So what's the complete opposite of that? And have you checked
feel
that
my
out?
vibration now is like on a different level. Like I feel lighter. I feel like I'm going to float away. Like I just feel so good and clear. Like it's always something you got to experience, but like, it's like, is that what the food is doing to me? It's making me feel like that cloudy, dense, like lethargic. And I'm not a lethargic person. Like I'm energetic. I do a lot of stuff, but like, this is like, and I eat pretty clean generally as it is, but this is like next level. It's like, you don't know until you try, really.
Yeah. And, with the two clients that, the clients that I have that are not athletes, I'm just like, this is the first thing, depending on where they are. I'm like, if you've never fasted, I was like, if you want the Navy SEAL version, right, do a 5-day fast. If you want to really just switch it quick and you want to experience something. You know, the Wim Hof breathing is an experience. Also, I have an Ananda Girl meditation. That's the one that I do continuously, and then my body vibrates, and then boom, you know what I mean? I get to go check. DMT activates, right? And I'm like, all right, here we go. And, you know, my like catharsis in the body and stuff like that. But it's interesting too what you're talking about.
You gotta send me that breathing technique. I'm curious to try
Oh,
it.
dude, yeah, you'll love it. Yeah, you'll love it. And so I'm feeling it like over the last 6 months and year, more like sometimes heavy heat where my third eye is, some heavy heat like above my head. Like it's happening. Like we're getting tuned. Like I feel my body change, and that's all I know. And I'm tuning in more and more and more. And that's it. It's doing the thing, because knowing what you should do or you feel called to do is one thing, but actually doing the work, right? A lot of people know how to eat. You know, if you're overweight and you know what you got to do. It's not rocket science. Now, will you go do it? That's where the challenge is. And that's why awakening is a challenge. That's why, you know, being enlightened, so to speak, to be light is a challenge, because it's a lot easier to swear at the guy who just cut you off. It's a lot easier not to be conscious about your food. It's a lot easier to do a job that just makes money because it pays the bills, but you're suppressing a person, or you're not contributing to a society because shit's going to get taken away because you think that your things are going to let go. You have to detach. That is challenging. I totally respect that. But that's why I love people who are doing it like you, because it just is. You're just doing it, and you're either in the crew at that level or not, and there's no gimmies. Nobody gets given the Ferrari and you're just in. You have to earn that sucker, and everybody earns it. And so we have these ways and these tools. You know, there's a lot of cluster in the air, but really find a path that resonates with you, a person who resonates with you, you know, and then you believe them and try one, right? But like you said, have the experience. That's it. You go from thinking, and then, you know, in the conversations of people who haven't done ayahuasca, or we talk about realms or fairies or aliens or UFOs, like, I know they exist. I don't care what you think. I just know it. The reason why I know it is because I've had experiences that have shattered my brain and have taken me to places and dimensions, and it's my direct experience. And you can have it too when I know other people who've had it. This is part of the reason why I have the podcast, is because, you know, people don't believe me. I can get people like you on the phone, like, yes, you know, this stuff is real for me too. But, you know, you can come, and it's opening your awareness, you know, and that's what you got to do is you got to start to get involved. You got to start to make these choices. You got to start to take action, and the action and the patterns are going to elevate you to another level.
Exactly. Yep. You're exactly bang on, man.
Well, I was like, I'm just going like through my rant, and it was like, okay, we're gonna ask. I'm interviewing you, Giovanni. This is what's happening here.
No, it's a conversation. It's the best way to do it. You know, I'm learning at the same time. I love listening to you speak, man. You're awesome.
Thanks, buddy. It's so funny too. Like most of the feedback I get on the podcast are like relatively good. You know, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback, which I enjoy. And some of it's like, you know, it's not about you. And I was like, you don't even understand. Like one of them, actually, some of the people I'll talk to can't talk about some of the crazy stuff. So I will take the ball and I'll talk, you know what I mean, 5D, and then I give it back, and they kind of ground it, because then they can be the representative for their crew, right? Your business crew, or I can be the representative for athletes if I don't go, you know, lose them with, you know, ayahuasca and aliens and whatever, right? It's like, oh God, now like my brain is afraid. I'm like, okay, let's talk about sports performance and peak performance and getting in flow and breaking a world record. Now I'm the language, right?
Yeah.
But then there's the other thing of like, hey man, I'm not an interviewer. I am literally calling people on the phone, and you're witnessing my phone call with people that I respect and like. No one's coming on the podcast that I don't like, you know, and so it's been a real treat. And the initial idea was to interview my friends like you and have conversations with them, because you have amazing conversations. You and I have amazing conversations. This is just the first one people get to witness. And this isn't even the craziest one we've had. This is like, on a scale of our crazy conversations, this is like a 4, you know,
Yeah.
It's like, we're giving you like the base level, but it's an open invitation of like what we're learning, what we're experiencing, you know, what's possible for you, and to encourage and to inspire through story, because we're both learning and growing. and we can share what's useful for us, and we hope that it can impact your life in a positive way. And you didn't even talk about you got your nutless clusters brand, which is cool. Like, so we didn't even go business, but like I think it's cool like that you created that product that's a vegan superfood snack. And
yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, that's fun. I got a new product right now. It's called Holy Shit. I'm not even joking. It's an all natural. It's an all natural stool softener. It's WHOLEYSHIT.com. There's some really funny videos on there. You gotta watch. It's a real product and it works amazing. It's just online, and I'm just having so much fun with it. I'm not even joking, dude. I'm not even joking. Holyshit.com.
And, oh my God. Yeah, the nutless classes. Yeah, man, you're doing amazing things, buddy. I appreciate it. Do you is there anything else that you wanted to chat about? Like, we've been going for probably a little bit over an hour and a half. I'm fine to talk to you all day. Also do future podcasts because we know this isn't the last one, but was there anything that like you would have liked me to ask that you're really passionate to talk about or share in this one, or do you feel it was a good transmission?
I think we got a lot covered there. I mean, I'll definitely come back if there's anything else that comes up in the meantime. If people want to connect on Facebook, look me up. I love adding new friends, and if you want to follow me, are you gonna put some links for like the social media stuff if people want to connect? My email.
Not for you.
Oh, jeez. Okay, let me get this in quick then. So it's GI. Oh no.
Yeah, I'll put I'll put your email if you want. You have a personal website?
Yeah, I'm working on my personal website.
It's all business stuff right now, right?
Yeah, I'm working on my personal website, and my kids are here. They want to say hello.
Cool. Yeah.
Hello, Dad.
Hey guys, give me 1 minute, okay?
Andy's the father. What's up, kids?
Say hello.
Hello. Hello.
No, cute.
Okay, give me 1 minute. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, just
This is the first podcast where little Rugrats have come in. Finally, see, this is what it's for, man. It's for the little humans. If we can clear our stuff out, we can leave a better place for them, man. And that's get outside yourself. Let's do it.
Oh, that's what I'm doing this for. That's what I do all my stuff for. It's to create something better to leave behind. So yeah, you just put I'll send you the stuff to put up. The best way to connect, if you want to even check out my podcast, is collective-evolution.com/G and Coletti. It's going to be changed soon with the new one, but if you sign up for our email on there, I'll let you know when the new stuff is coming out. And we'll let you know when Matt's going to be on there as well. Yeah,
well, I got a mini one on there. Yeah, buddy, that sounds good, man. I'll put everybody out there. I'll put Gio's links up there when he gets a Twitter account and he joins the social world. We'll
I tried Twitter so long, I couldn't get it rolling, and I was like, I don't even like Twitter.
You couldn't get any fun. It's just it's garbage hacks, man. But you're on a rocket ship now, my friend. We'll definitely get you back at the end of this fast to see where you are, to see if you're levitating or what the deal is. But I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you putting in the work to better yourself, and that's what it's about. And to be full of integrity and to do those things that are not easy, and to experiment, to be an adventurer, and share with everybody what you're learning, man. That's all right, buddy. It's great. You're beautiful. They can only hear my mic anyway. You're beautiful.
They can't hear you.
Son of a bitch. You can't hear me? Oh, no, I said you can rewatch this. I'm complimenting you. You're a beautiful son of a bitch.
They can't hear you, so they don't think anything's going on. But he's like, can you put my Batman costume on?
They can't hear you. They can't. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, listen, Matt, same here, dude. I really appreciate everything you're doing. Thanks for having me on the show. And I can't wait to be back and to see what we can do next. And when you get back to Toronto, make sure we connect. Come up to Luminous. We'll hang out. We'll get a whole group going there, and we'll just share stories. We'll have those 10 out of 10 conversations.
Yeah, brother. I love you, man. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. Thanks, Gio, for coming on, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Yes, thank you, too. Thanks, everyone. God bless. Peace.